Live in the dungeon, this is the Dream Warrior Review. I'm Kurt Thomas.
I'm Mick Strawn.
And this is episode 52. I want to know if any humans were harmed during this movie.
This movie?
Yeah. Isle of Dogs.
Why would they be? Would they be?
This movie was set in Japan. The Isle of Dogs follows a boy's odyssey in search of his lost dog.
Yes.
It's actually, this is amazing stuff here. It's the longest stop-motion film of all time.
What is?
Beating Coraline by 2 minutes. The movie we just saw.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The hair of the dogs was made of alpaca fur.
And were they just filming in front of a fan in order to keep it moving like that?
I guess so.
I mean,
that's what I was thinking.
That's what they would do.
I had that thought when I was watching it.
Yeah, that if it had that look of, if it was just in different places, they would just keep a constant fan going, and it would do that.
Yeah.
You know?
And Jeff Goldblum he actually recorded over the phone because of scheduling conflicts.
Wow.
I just know all this stuff because I'm so smart.
You know, it's funny because his voice did stick out a little bit.
It did.
It did seem outside of it didn't have the same timbre as everybody else's.
Oh. Isle of Dogs could also be read as I Love Dogs.
Oh.
Whoa.
Oh. Where are you getting this?
I'm the Oracle.
Oh, gotcha. Oh.
And I'm getting it from somewhere else.
IMDb.
So we went to see Isle of Dogs.
Yes.
And I have to say, I was pretty impressed.
Actually, I was too. And this is the one time I was actually looking forward to a movie, and I was pleasantly got what I expected, I guess.
Yeah, me too. I mean,
Wes Anderson.
It was very
he's pretty
fantastic.
predictable.
It seemed like it was made by the same people who did Fantastic Mr. Fox. But I have to say that the subtlety of it was amazing.
Wes Anderson did the screenplay for Fantastic Mr. Fox. See, I know everything right now.
Yeah,
what's going on here?
Yeah.
No, but it was Wes Anderson's very predictable, but in a good way.
He is. Oh,
No.
yeah, but
Yeah.
he nails it. I mean, I just cannot tell you how many things were just so right about this. The way that he got a combination of a look that had a totally retro feel, but retro to something that never existed. You know, it was I mean, it was absolutely its own
they told
look.
the story in a pretty linear way, but made it interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, they used one flashback, I think, but
I think that there were a couple flashbacks, but
maybe a couple.
But very, very, very cool. I mean. And
the music was amazing.
The music was amazing.
Thanks to Chris Hill, who played double bass.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, the whole orchestra was awesome, and the way they wrote the music.
And also, you had a journey going, and there was a great journey song.
Yeah.
You know that kind of like took us from one place to the other, da, 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 and it was amazing. I mean, that song just kind of like drifted in when we started to move to a different place.
Where they were whistling too. That was So did you ever? One of my favorite movies. My brother Jeff is responsible for this because we used to watch it sometimes.
Okay.
It was an old. I'm laughing as I say it because it's kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
But it had the guy from Miami Vice, Don Johnson, in it as a young kid, and he was with a dog.
A
boy and his dog.
A boy and his dog.
Yeah, that was a great movie.
It's a great movie.
But it's about a journey about a boy and his dog on a journey.
It's also a great story.
Yes, it is.
Isn't it by Damon Knight?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't remember. I used to watch it all the time, and it's probably been 20 years since I've seen it, but I need to revisit that one.
Harlan Ellison. There you go.
Harlan Ellison. I should review that one.
We should review. You know what?
It's been so long.
I've been thinking about this. I've been thinking that we should do a separate podcast just for gems, just for old, just amazing.
I thought you meant
films.
like people named Jim. It had that same feeling to it.
It did.
The dog, and it was another thing, the ageless story of dogs and humans needing each other.
Right.
And benefiting from being with each other.
But there was a look when the boy first shows up on the island, and he's looking through his mask, and they're having a discussion between the 5 dogs. Just incredible. I mean, the look back, the looks at each other with the eyes and everything.
And you could tell that there were points where they just didn't move the animals. Like like when he was in the cage, like he would move a little bit, then stop, then move. But it like worked with what was happening.
Yeah, it totally. I mean, and there was a minimalist thing happening that, and a great deal of language at the same time that was coming at you, and that you couldn't read it, and the fact that we were jumping in and out of Japanese, and you didn't need to hear what was, and at the same time the story still moved along like a rocket.
There's a lot of translation going on, even between characters.
And the odd thing is some of it just almost felt accidental,
right?
Translating, like somebody's looking at the screen and saying the salient points, as you're looking at the Japanese.
I'm wondering
talking.
though.
What?
I mean, even though the voices were amazing, like I love, Bryan Cranston, Bill Murray.
Oh, right,
I mean, to name a couple, but like, it almost could have been a silent movie with just a lot of really good music, but with subtitles.
It really could.
I don't know if people could really. At least in the United States, would be able to put up with that.
Yeah, well,
but no, I was thinking that
we don't put up with much
because it was a very visual movie. I mean, obviously, all movies are visual, but this was really heavily.
But it was visual storytelling.
Yeah, and there was very little there was some sound to enhance it, I think, but not really. Only a couple scenes where there were some added sound effects.
Yeah, no, it wasn't the layered sound effects, and
there was a crashing sound at one point that I think really added to it.
Yeah. But in general, it was just.
And the girl with the hair, the way they did that character was amazing.
Yeah.
She was angry.
I have a crush on you. That line was just so great.
And she said it like she was angry.
Yeah. No, it was amazing.
The cast.
Oh man, yeah.
Bryan Cranston, Edward Norton, Bill Murray. I don't know this guy, but maybe it's because I'm not.
Yeah.
The guy who did Atari.
Frances McDormand, Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, see, she was playing
Harvey
Nutmeg,
Keitel.
the very sexy
dog
in the movie.
I like Yoko Ono and as the other scientist that actually they called the character Yoko Ono.
Yeah,
it's great.
And she actually went back and forth between English and Japanese.
Yeah, it was perfect. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was amazing. And who was the one that I was mentioning? It was credited. It was the mute poodle.
Yeah, the mute
Angelica
poodle.
Houston.
Angelica Houston. Yeah.
So there's tons of people. We can't name them all, but
just goes on.
But yeah, it was I don't know. That's one fun thing about animation is actually I didn't even look up who was in it other than the trailers.
Yeah.
So I was trying to find out the additional characters who they were. So that was it took me a while to get Scarlett Johansson.
See, I can't get. I can't. Voices.
Well, some people have
faces,
really unique, like Bill Murray.
That, yeah.
I mean, he has that way of talking.
Yeah, Bill Murray, and I immediately got Jeff Goldblum. But the funny thing about it is, I could actually tell that he wasn't in the same studios other people were recording from. It was pretty obvious.
Right.
His voice had a completely different timbre to it. It
Yeah.
was coming in a little bit higher. The lows were kind of missing on it. So yeah.
I'm wondering. I want to know the technology they used. Was it ISD inline? Was it just a regular phone? Courtney B. Vance was the narrator.
Yeah, and wasn't his voice?
It was amazing.
His voice had so many echoes of, the guy that does all the.
I'm looking at you with a blank expression.
I'm sorry, you're looking at me with a blank expression just because the name also went completely out of my head, but.
Now you have a blank expression.
Now I do. Jackson.
Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah, he had a lot of timbre in his voice.
Yeah. It's. I think that if I ever, Samuel L. Jackson is the person that most people say they want to have narrate
Or James Earl Jones.
Yeah, to narrate their voice, the story of their life. I mean, I think I'd probably go with Mel Blanc myself, but
I'd probably go with a weak, like an early '70s Woody Allen. Like, oh, let me tell you a story about this guy. So I'd really have like that kind of voice.
That's going.
Or maybe a Jerry Lewis Nutty Professor.
Yeah, well, the thing is Mel Blanc could play all the voices in my head. All the different voices.
I don't know if really he does that many voices. I think I heard one screaming. Just so I guess overall everything was great. Story was great. Animation was awesome. So I want to know how they did like this Steam. Was that drawn on? You know, I was just watching the Steam moving around in this. There's a scene where he's like in a Steam room, I guess.
Yeah, they have to. It has to be digital.
And like smoke too.
Yeah.
Smoke was in there.
Smoke and steamer.
But it was interesting how it moved. It's like I was zoned out on the top of the screen for a while. I was like, what is going on?
It's always difficult.
And then the credits, it doesn't really tell you much. So people drew, people modeled, people did this.
Right.
But I couldn't find the caterer. I don't know if they had a caterer. I'm upset about this.
Why were you looking for the caterer? That's a.
I guess it's a tradition for me to always look for the caterer. Yeah. No, not really. I don't know.
I was gonna say.
That would be a great podcast. Let's talk to the caterer.
Let's fire the caterer
of all these different movies and find out what movies they've been fired from and what they were blamed for. I think we had that conversation before.
I told that my theory about the caterer to a couple of people while I was have been doing these interviews for my book, Behind the Screams, and it is really cracked up a lot. Somebody that I can't remember who it was, but somebody that just had a very dour, straight ahead look, and I mentioned that, and he was cracking up. He goes, "Well, that's a real inside joke to Hollywood." And I go, "Yeah, well," but everybody knew exactly what I meant. So I'm going to have to give this. I'm going to go for a
puppy snaps.
4.6. 4.6. Little airplanes.
Oh, little airplanes.
No, the rod in the head.
rods in the head.
Rods in the head.
4.6. 4.6. Yeah. I can't remember what I ranked Ready Player One, but I put it about the same.
Yeah.
I think I was about 4.5.
I think
probably.
I was 4.7 on Ready Player One. So
I'm going to go with 4.6 as well. I'm going to agree with you totally.
Okay, well, there
for
you go.
once.
There we go. Now,
under protest.
Now, this
reminds you of something.
It reminds me of something.
Story time. It's story time with Mick. 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 Story time with Mick.
It reminds me of a film of a pilot that I worked on called Hollywood Dog. And it was half animation. It was animated characters done in real life situations, right? So Hollywood Dog was the only animated character. Everybody else was real life.
Okay.
And the process of being the production designer was kind of a nightmare. To give you some background, Hollywood Dog was in the Hollywood Free Press. Had a cartoon character that was Hollywood, obnoxious Hollywood Dog, and he was like kind of a low life hipster dog. If you can just imagine Hollywood now, imagine a dog that would be in Hollywood, and that's what a Hollywood Dog was.
Right.
Well. The making of the pilot, was ill-timed, to say the least, because as soon as we finished and got the pilot, we got to go, and as soon as it aired on the same night as The Simpsons did.
Oh.
So it got kind of like smashed. And Simpsons was much better. What can I say? But the making of it and the production design battles that I went into, see, it had something that I had never dealt with before, and that script needed to be sprayed for executive producers. There were 13.
Oh my God.
13 executive producers that had a bit onto the dog or from the paper or from the New York version of the company that was doing it, and the East and the West Coast. And so we had a meeting in LA where, and this, I had never seen this before. I mean, I've never seen every executive producer, even on shows that had 4 or 5 executive producers. I never actually saw them all show up at once for a meeting. And this is what happened. All 13 executive producers were at the meeting where I was proposing the sets models. So
wow.
I had made a model of the set. I had drawings of the dog's Hollywood apartment. Right?
Right.
Now, the thing is I was having a definition problem. Because in the script, the apartment was described as Hollywood chic. Now,
Hollywood chic.
Here's the problem. Hollywood chic is exactly the same look that all 13 of anybody that has lived in New York or LA, that's whatever's in their apartment is Hollywood chic, right?
Right.
So absolutely all 13 people were thinking that this was going to look like their high Tony apartments, right?
Right. Yeah.
And the battle ensued. I got there and I put the model down in the middle of and they all get up and they're looking at it and they're going back and forth and go, oh, I don't know, and they, you know, their arguments back and forth about like he smoked. I mean, yeah, it was back then. He actually smoked cigars, and so he had an ashtray. Well, then there was like discussions about whether or not they could have an ashtray and what period it would be, and should it be googly or should it be, you know, modern. This was just the ashtray.
Oh, wow.
I mean, the arguments started on the ashtray and they went to hell from there. I mean, they're arguing back and forth. And I'm sitting at the table. The thing is the arguments never actually even directly ever came to me because it was them amongst each other before they would get to me, but you don't know. Yeah, they were. Oh, it was unbelievable.
Wow.
And so
this room full of cannibalistic dogs.
rabid cannibalistic dogs. Don't get me wrong. So the model is in the middle of one of those conference, you know,
right? Yeah,
big conference tables, and Hollywood had just. You know, every producer's office had the big conference room, and they had to seat 30 people, you know. And this one probably had at least 25 people at it, you know. And they're all just raging across from each other. I mean, you know, as soon as I put the model down, you know, they all seemed to turn to each other. And finally, they started to turn on me because, you know, they had gotten, it kind of looked like Survivor. You know, where certain people had like gotten together as groups, like
in factions, yeah.
And this faction could think of a particular way that they had wanted to change things, and oh god, it kept going back and forth. I'm just like looking, just not saying anything, and finally they started to address me, and I said. And I stood up, and I'd been just listening to them basically for an hour, and I stood up and I said, well, you know, if you don't like the you don't like the armchair, oh, it's fine. So I reached down and I got the yanked it off of the model, threw it on the ground, and stomped it. And this is one of those foam core models where everything is made out of foam core. I mean, absolutely everything, right? And so I just proceeded to just reach in and take everything one by one as they were arguing it and gave me points about it. Just said, in this, and you don't need that, and the sofa. I mean, the thing is if you guys don't like the sofa, I'm going to just crush that too. And I proceeded to stand there and destroy the model. I just absolutely took everything, including, and slowly, as I'm destroying the model, people are starting to pay more and more attention. and finally, I mean, when I got back to the last couple of walls or something, I threw them down, and I threw the last 2 walls down. I looked up, and it was absolutely dead silent. They're all looking at me. And I walked out. The thing is, I showed up for the work the next day, and we went with absolutely everything that I said originally. The original model was how I built everything, because nobody would talk to me, because they were just scared to death, right? And I never would have thought of that as a technique, to win an argument or to get things done, but it certainly did the trick for the rest of that. It did some great things for me. I mean, first of all, the set went together exactly as the model and the drawings laid out. I mean, just absolutely not one change through the whole damn thing, and nobody talked to me, which was like a complete blessing in disguise, because these people were all disgusting. So it was the coolest thing that I could have done at the time. It was what needed to be done at that moment.
Right.
I don't suggest this because there was a lot of hours went into that model.
Right. Yeah.
And I was quite stunned and pleasantly pleased with the way that it came out.
Huh.
And I went back, and then they spent a lot of time and put in the dog and all that, and I think that there was a cafe in there where the dog goes from table to table, and we shook the tables, and we had all the reactions to everything, and it came out exactly on the same night Simpsons came out.
Oh.
And so,
wow.
Yeah.
Well, so maybe it's because you're telling the story, and I just watched Isle of Dogs, and you mentioned The Simpsons.
Exactly.
I wish we had somebody that was listening take this story and animate it, because that would be amazing. I was picturing an animated.
That would be so.
I was
cool.
picturing you animated and all these animated producers,
yeah.
looking at you.
It's yeah. I gotta say that when I did some of these things that I mentioned about, I was always in full regalia, all the way out there. I never, that thing where you walk away from a conversation and went, "Oh, I wish I'd said that."
Oh yeah.
I never.
You never did that?
I never had that happen.
That's awesome.
I
did you ever get fired because you said too much?
Here's the thing, and I totally.
If it starts with "here's the thing,"
here's the thing. I always try my best to be my most me when I meet people.
Well, that's good policy.
And that way,
everybody should do that. Everybody should do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. But the thing is there is a certain crazy thing, out there, and I always try when I meet people to be my most gregarious, crazy thing. I have them talk to at least 2 or 3 voices in my head at the same time, and that way, when I walk away from that, everything from there is frosting on the cake. See what I'm saying?
Right.
It's I cannot say things. I think it's important to get people prepared for how it's going to go.
Yeah. Well, they expect crazy. They get crazy. They're not going to be like surprised.
Exactly. It's like, yeah, I mean, and let's face it, if you look at the way that I come off to people, when I first meet them, I couldn't do a little old lady thing, That just ain't gonna happen, I don't do shy.
Yeah.
Oh God, I don't do shy. I mean,
See, I'm usually pretty out there, but sometimes if I'm in a
but you know what?
Sometimes
you don't start that
well,
way.
here's an example.
You don't.
If I go to a party and it's people I don't know, I like to just kind of sit in the corner and watch everybody.
Yeah,
and then I attack.
See, I don't believe in that.
Well, I know you.
You know
like
me.
I figure people out and then I start talking to them. So yeah, so I know. Yeah, then I scare them.
Well, the thing is though, if we both were at a party and we're both completely as crazy as I know that both of us can be, we could suck a room into a vortex.
Create a black hole.
Suck
all the producers in.
See that.
13 producers. That's really lucky, isn't it?
Oh God, it was.
Today is Friday the 13th, by the way.
Well, that's then it all works, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's weird that we're doing this on Friday the 13th.
It's
and by the way, just a nod to ourselves. Can I say how awesome we are?
Well,
we're brilliant because instead of doing these,
I mean, we are.
We didn't review Rampage or what was the other one? Truth or Dare because it's Friday the 13th.
Right.
I mean,
yeah,
we're like the anti. And you saw the story about 13 producers that you were against. So we're the anti-13 right now. And we saw Isle of Dogs because it was more brilliant than the other two.
That's right. And it was really good. You guys go out and see it now.
And keep listening to us because obviously we know what we're doing.
And by the way, can I just throw out that I got a book coming up?
Yes.
Yeah. Behind the Screams. It's a book about the making of Nightmare on Elm Street 4. And it's going to be amazing.
Do you have any like teasers that you can any details?
I heard one today. I heard a little bit of a teaser. I was talking with Andres Jones, and Andres was. I had talked to him about how he was. There was a scene where he was in a coffin. And he comes up out of the con, hey, baby, and he was saying that there's a chance that there wasn't much worrying about acting on this, so that they all got a chance to do their own thing because everybody was under a writer's strike, and they were kind of letting the characters kind of make it up as they went along, while we all worried about the important stuff like doing all the gags and stuff.
Right, yeah.
And I was always curious about,
which is why it's one of the best written films ever.
Right, oddly enough. but Andres Jones he does a great character. And I was guessing that the character that we see of him in the beginning was a cross between Peter Falk and James Dean.
Okay.
And he said, yeah, well, Peter Falk was was definitely an influence, but is probably more Dustin Hoffman.
Okay.
But it was really interesting that he made me look at the film again in a new light, because he mentioned that the sequence that he was in where he was fighting Freddy, and he was in the elevator, and then he goes into the room with all the Japanese fabric and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that literally that whole thing was a hole in the script. I mean, because we thought that we were going to do something different with the elevator.
Yeah.
And nobody, and it was virtually him in the camera. And he did that whole fight sequence, right? With Freddy. And he actually did a pretty good job of it. And he kind of blocked it out himself.
Wow.
He did it all himself, and I have to say that at the end of it, I gave him credit for being a crew member because he was doing his own special effects.
Yeah. He was also kind of self-directing a little bit.
Yeah, and he was self-directing. Yeah, he's a good guy.
I guess assistant director. Right?
Yeah, I think that he was one of the people, one of the rare people on that film, other than Robert, that was actually, doing an interesting acting job and not just going with their characters.
Well, you can't say anything bad about Robert.
Well, I can't say anything. I can't say anything bad.
I mean, he never did anything bad.
Yeah,
that's
right.
what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's
my
Robert's point.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's a little
awesome
things that you learn while
I'm still waiting to have Robert on our show. By the way, just putting it out there.
I can get Robert on the show in a heartbeat.
But that could be like maybe a
I'm talking to him.
Birthday gift to me.
I'm talking to I'm talking to Robert tomorrow, and I'll bring it up
on Friday the 13th. You're talking to.
I am talking to Robert England on Friday. The 13th.
That's perfect.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah,
that was almost like his laugh there.
I got a call from Bob Shea today.
See, that blows my mind.
Yeah. So
Bob Shea.
That's Bob Shea called to say hi from old times because he'd been hearing my name kicked around with all the book and everything, and he just wanted to say hey and connect, and so we're going to get together next week and I'm going to interview him for
that's awesome.
So it's amazing. It's coming together. It almost feels like a wave of that I've been trying for 4 months now to like just pry people up and
that's good.
And it's been very hard to connect to people. And all of a sudden, it seems the last 2 weeks just been a flood. Just absolutely.
Well, people know each other, and I guess they're talking about you. So.
I guess. You know, you don't know.
So we still have 8 listeners. You'd think some of these people would like check out our podcast.
But you'd think.
I know they're busy people, but.
Well, you know what we've got to stop doing?
What's that?
One hand clapping.
I do it a lot.
Yeah, so.
But it keeps me motivated.
I'm doing it right now. Is that enough?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Later.
Yep. Thank you for listening to the Dream Warrior Review. As always, you can reach us at Gmail at dreamwarriorreview@gmail.com, or you can find us on Twitter at DWR Review, and of course, we're on Facebook. Until next time.